Video can be an unforgiving medium, and without proper lighting, it's easy to lose data in both the highlights and the shadows. Luckily, as videographers, we aren't stuck with Rec. 709. You know, the standard 16:9, 1080 HD format created in 1990 that tends to be overwhelmed by high contrast scenes. Until recently, the only thing to fix high contrast was to dump extra light into the mid-ranges in order to compress the dynamic range. But now there are more sophisticated ways of dealing with bringing the dark values closer to the bright ones. Namely by using Camera Raw, or as the title of this video insinuates, log. Camera Raw is just the raw data off the camera sensor without any processing. This means no ISO adjustments have been made, no white balance has been set, and the files are huge. After the data is captured, it needs to be processed before it can be viewed. This can be tedious, but there is a midpoint between RAW and Rec. 709. Log is sort of like Camera Raw in that it's bringing in extra data off the sensor, but it also has some adjustments built in, so you can actually watch log footage on a monitor. An ungraded log file looks like you shot video through a fog bank. The colors are washed out and there's no contrast because you're expected to make those decisions later. In a typical 8-bit video, light is divided into 256 possible levels, each equidistant from the previous. Log, or logarithmic space, is one in which each brightness level is not equidistant to the one before. This allows for a larger number of gradations in some areas of the spectrum. Log captures more of these gradations and lets you assign what they'll be in post. Lots of people have created LUTs, or lookup tables, that reassign these numbers to create a number of pleasing outcomes, so you don't necessarily have to figure them out on your own. Now, without further ado, let's go over the 5 basic tips for shooting in log profile. Tip number 1. In log, clip the highlights, not the shadows. This is something that'll trip up most video shooters. We've all learned over the years never to clip the highlights, but when shooting log, it's better to pull the shadows up to keep the blacks from getting noisy. Spend some time with the manual and testing, starting about 1 stop overexposed. Yeah, it sounds crazy, but the extended range of log will save the highlights, and pulling up the shadows will keep them from getting too noisy. Tip number 2. If your camera can handle it, use a 10-bit external recorder. With a 10-bit recorder, you won't be limited to your camera's 8-bit video, since you can grab your video right off the sensor. Banding issues sometimes arise when shooting log files with formats not specifically designed for those cameras. Vlog, for example, is designed for a 14-bit recording and can cause banding issues when used on an 8-bit camera. Tip number 3. Try not to mix log and Rec. 709. If you have one camera shooting log while the other one shoots Rec. 709, it can be difficult to get the two to match up in post. If you're gonna shoot log with all of your cameras. Tip number 4. If possible, use a preview LUT. Use a Rec. 709 profile for watching your video while shooting in log. You'll still want to use the histogram to set your exposure, but not seeing your video looking completely washed out in the monitor will reduce your urge to keep twisting the knobs just because it looks weird. Tip number 5. Use LUTs other people have already made. Lots of people have spent a lot of time making LUTs that are available either for free or for purchase. Some mimic the look of famous films. Want a Matrix look? It can be a click away. But others are created for specific cameras. Be aware, there are Rec. 709 LUTs and there are log LUTs. Make sure you're using log LUTs on log and Rec. 709 LUTs on Rec. 709. Log has the potential to save your production, or at least some of the shots in it, and it easily changes the way your footage looks. But it does have its drawbacks. Before you try log on an important shoot, test it out on an unimportant one that mirrors your real-world shooting conditions.
Continued learning and practice, as well as taking refreshers on the basics, will help keep your skills sharp. Check out our video courses to stay on top of your game. Find a course by visiting videomaker.com/courses or click the link in the description.